Zambia, and welcome to another edition of the Manifesto show, a platform that gives you an opportunity to get to listen to different presidential candidates that are aspiring for the office this year, coming election, of course. And today on the program, I'm joined by Mr. Enock Roosevelt Tonga, who is actually the president of the Third Liberation Movement. Welcome to the program, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much, and I'm so grateful that you are able to pronounce Enock Roosevelt Tonga so well, and we are grateful for the opportunity that we're able to interact with the people of Zambia. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. It's good to have you. It's election year, and I know that the many Zambian people are eager and interested to understand the ideas that, of course, the Liberation Movement has to offer in terms of development. But before we dive into those conversations, maybe they would want to know who Mr. Tonga is, what's interesting about him, and why he has made a decision to run for office.
Yeah, I did not make a decision. Running for the office, before I can come to your concern who Mr. Tonga is, this is my identity. I've always been telling people to say that the moment I was conceived a servant, someone who lived to serve the people. So Enock Roosevelt Tonga is conceived in his mother's womb. God sets him to live, not do anything else but service. So in brief, who is Enock Tonga? A young man, not too old, close to the age of KK or Chiluba when they became presidents. I'm 43, an accountant by profession, born from a family of 3, God-fearing person, of course married. God has given me twins. I've got 5 children altogether. Enock Tonga is a person who exists to do nothing but to serve mankind. So without wasting much of your time and the time for those who want to hear more of what we stand for, Enock Roosevelt Tonga is a servant, born to serve the people, period.
Just a quick one before we dive into where do you draw your inspiration from?
God. From God, as I've mentioned earlier on, that this journey that was started in my mother's womb isn't mine. It is God's journey, and I always get the strength, the courage, the direction, the vision, the wisdom, the guidance from God Almighty, the creator of my life. Very simple, straightforward, and he has done it. And he is here to do more. So seeing Enock Tonga basically remains a vessel whose mission is to fulfill that which God wants to fulfill for the people of Zambia at his own time. So I get my strength, we call it inspiration, from no any other person other than God himself. That is my existence. That is what is keeping Enock Tonga working.
Speaking about more, of course, the Zambian people, there are so many issues and so many challenges that are happening in our communities. Different communities, of course, there are special challenges that they're facing. And just to begin with, let's start on the note of high cost of living. There's an outcry of saying things have become too expensive. Now, of course, they want solutions. What solutions are you offering in terms of making sure that things become more affordable?
My brother, it's not about things being expensive. If anything, the forthcoming general elections, particularly that of the presidency, mustn't be centered much on life, or should I say things being expensive. If that was the sole reason why we are to change government, then we will have already changed the government. The cost of living that the people of Zambia, that a businessman, that an investor, that a man of God, that a poor child, is experiencing is not what you may be thinking or what the viewer is thinking. This is an artificial undertaking. When I say artificial, I mean it has been deliberately done so. By who? By two counterparts in crime, and these are one Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu and his friend, Mr. Hakainde, working to destroy the society, working to destroy the people of Zambia, so that at the end of the day, that poor mother who walks in the streets of Lusaka with a baby on her back, wagulisa tunshawa, waganize kuti life yavuta. It's the making of Lungu and Hakainde. The moment Kujamwana Wansiwa realizes that it is Lungu's making and Hakainde's making, then Zambia will make the right choice and the right decision. So the status quo of things being expensive, it isn't as a result of one's per se failure in terms of leadership. No, they are working it out together. I want to add very quickly that the Republic of Zambia over time, from 1964 to where we are today, has been managed by what we call Vamwisa. These are foreigners. Vamwisa, they've taken all that which belongs to the people of Zambia. Why? Because one, you have Lungu, who is one of the ambassadors in bringing or ensuring that we have got all these Vamwisas coming to Zambia. Two, you have Hakainde Hichilema, who believes in sourcing or believes in the international arrangements where you always want to run the affairs with connections. Vamwisa, these are foreigners that are running every bit and piece of our economy.
But just a quick one. I'm looking at the issue of foreign investment in the country. And I look at the foreigners being a threat in this case, as you are explaining. But the key word here is foreign investment a bad idea for the Zambian people? And if it's so, what's the way forward?
What is bad is you having 3 children in your house, and then you bring 6 children of your neighbors and start looking after them by taking them to school and forgetting your own kids. Chabi papo kusenda abana babombi muntu mwambo kujana ko munganda mwambo kana bera munganda mwasi abana banu matenga bana wanzanu. The investor called investment, the foreign direct investment. This is what is destroying my mind, your mind, and whoever minds, that we can only believe in having people coming from outside to come and invest in the Republic of Zambia at the expense of one piece, expense 2 people's lives. You just mentioned. I was going to illustrate the issue of the cost of living. What a foreigner would do, because this person is a foreigner, whose interest is his motherland or her motherland, is that when this person is not happy, they will squeeze the economy. They will get ndalama madola bayamba kugonako kuika kumapilo so that ndalama kulibe. Imo mungo zunguluka mkairo road, mungo zunga ni kumufulira ngati ni kuchipata ngati ni kuti ku southern province, you can't find one kwacha. Because our Vamwisa or these foreigners believe that they are not happy with a particular person who is in that particular office.
Is that also contributing to the depreciation of our currency?
That's why I told you that it's manual, it is artificial, it is man-made. So the cost of living, let me explain to help the viewer there and the listener, is that do not believe that this status quo we are in is either as a result of failure of Lungu. Yes, because he may not have seen anything else. He has no eyes to see. Or maybe that you can only use that as only tool to change for a particular person. In this case, I'm talking about the other counterpart, who is the main opposition here. The status quo in the Republic of Zambia is, one as I've mentioned earlier on, done in conjunction. Lungu has been watching it, Hakainde has been watching it. You will recall that Lungu has been borrowing a lot of money through the just dissolved parliament, which did not even believe in fighting corruption, because we took an unbearable law there and never believed to ensure that law is being enacted. The same parliament which was borrowing resources, Hakainde and his members of parliament went there. So you find that the cost of living, the expenses talking about, the issue of the dollar, Lungu borrows money, Hakainde sits back and watches. Lungu entertains corruption, where we told them, can we have an unbearable on corruption? Hakainde sits and watches because he wants to take advantage of the situation. So he tells you, no, now you can vote for me because Lungu has failed. So I'm trying to explain here that going ahead in making a decision who we should vote for, it is not about the economy per se, characters. We must identify these characters. What kind of human beings are we dealing with? What character do you have in Lungu? What character do you have in Hakainde? What character do you have in Enock Tonga or any other leader, son of God? Okay? So the rising of prices of unga, tomato, these are basically orchestrated by themselves. As I've mentioned earlier on, that the foreigners who got in the Republic of Zambia, they've got no interest whatsoever in ensuring that we can maintain the status quo and maintain that the people of Zambia can live a better life. Therefore, as Enock Roosevelt Tonga and the Third Liberation Movement, as we form government, my brother, we are putting very clear, straightforward, that foreigners will have 3 months to exit the Republic of Zambia.
Okay, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into having a conversation of the economy in a more depth way, because it looks like this coming election will be about the economy in as much as other issues also pending. Make sure you like our Facebook page, that is Live TV, as well as our Instagram at Live TV. We'll be right back. As a country, it is very important to keep pace with the prevailing condition in our society in order to define the future now through ideas that are more resilient. Join me, Danji Duncan Simwanza, every Monday at 20:30, The Manifesto Show, a platform that gives you an opportunity to get to listen to different manifestos by different political parties, only on Live TV channel 112 on your Topstar decoders. Make a day. If you have just joined us, I am joined by the president of the Third Liberation Movement, President Enock Roosevelt Tonga, who's with me in the studio, and we are discussing key issues here ahead of the general election that is slated for August 12th this very year. Now, of course, before we went for the break, you were mentioning to the viewers very critical issues when it comes to foreign investors and how foreigners have impacted our livelihood in some ways. But this year's election, it is clear that the economy is bad. People might say it's not that bad, but it's actually bad. People are feeling it. They would agree with me. But the whole issue here is, what's the way forward? What are you proposing, making sure that you cushion these challenges that we're having in the economy as a party?
I think that question, the way I would want to respond to it is that We do not have any problem in fixing the status quo in the Republic of Zambia. What I do not want to talk about is the word economy. Yes, the voters are poor people who don't even understand the word economy. You can have those, institutions that are coming up with their own figures. These are fake, educated professionals that would want to always sit behind the papers and give out figures. Zambia's illiteracy and the poverty levels have always been very high since time immemorial. Kaunda's time, it has always been like this. We've not done anything for humanity. And for me to discuss the events of yesterday would be foolish. Yesterday to simply mean that when Lungu became the president, I won't be wise. Our party is called the Third Liberation Movement because we strongly believe that we fought for independence. There is multipartyism, though not that it should be, but now we are to establish the third liberation or fight for the third liberation of Zambia. So then, to talk of the economy may not be the better way to respond to your question, but my answer to the worries, my answer to the cries of the people of Zambia are as follows: that we can only establish a different Republic of Zambia altogether. One, when we look at those 7 golden pillars that we, I think, set in our document called the Manifesto. That is the bottom line. Then the other issue that the people of Zambia, I think I'll mention, the other issue that the people of Zambia must understand clearly is that what happens with politicians is, if you look at the situation now, I'm being very clear and I'm speaking this from my heart, and this is God speaking, that today you are PF. So automatically, through the process of elections, you're going to have so-called the major opposition political party. So what is running in the minds of the people is a PF now afirwa to one fiko Bambi. Bambi in this case is Hakainde. But I want to repeat again that the moment we make that particular mistake, you will live to regret. However, I want to emphasize that Enock Tonga knows so well that when Lungu is done, meaning that God has set the time period when Lungu will be fully out of the State House. Although this man was supposed to be transitional leader, the next head of state will be Enock Roosevelt Tonga. So now, quickly, to have the Republic of Zambia get where she's supposed to be, you need, one, a leader who is God-fearing, who is not corrupt, new in the system, without any political skeletons. What I mean here is that you know them as individuals, how they built through to where they are. So that corrupt, free, God-fearing individual is myself, Enock Roosevelt Tonga, destined to rule the Republic of Zambia or to govern for a certain period of time. In addition to that, we have to completely overhaul the entire political system. How do you overhaul it? It will never happen in Kaunda's time. One, as I've mentioned, you must introduce what we call the non-bearable law on corruption. That is very important because corruption has killed a lot of people in Africa, Zambia in particular. Non-bearable law on corruption. You pick Shitaru Chirufya, you pick Amos Chanda, you pick Lungu today, he must defend himself behind bars without bail. That's a beginning point. Attached to that non-bearable law on corruption must be penalties, such as death penalty. There's no way, no death penalty, what? Not even biblically it's in there. So you are found guilty of corruption, you must be hanged until you are pronounced dead by the qualified medical personnel. If not that, you must be behind bars for life or 50 years or more. What am I saying here? The non-bearable law on corruption has already been delivered by us. It is already a motion in parliament where Hakainde and Lumu where MMD was, where the de facto NDC was, where Nawaki and all these independent members of parliament, I took non-variable on corruption there.
And
That's
don't
the
you
beginning
think
point.
maybe the death penalty would be too much? Why not life in prison?
What is too much about death penalty? If a particular individual do steal money and take that money to his pocket and you have no medicine in the hospitals, you have a child dying in the hospitals, that's killing. So we say it's better you save 70 and kill one. What I mean here is that if you are in a Marco Polo bus driving to Ndola or Eastern Province or Southern Province, it is, I think, business law that when you find a person crossing suddenly on the roadside, you as a driver, you'll be not wise to, sway or avoid that person and cause an accident and kill all the people on board simply because someone is passing through the road. What do? You take on that person and move on. So what I mean here is that if Minister A was stealing public resources, a coin, we have been very particular. If anything, we are the only institution who are very clear when it comes to the fight against corruption. You will not find any answer in any of them. Impossible. The best you do is you are found guilty, behind bars, no bail. You are killed if you are found guilty, depending on the weight of that particular crime you have committed. No room for you. You must go because you're a bad seed. Then from there onwards, we are going to introduce, good behaviors in the people that are going to be behind. So when you do that, these issues of cost of this, that it won't be there. Because if you look at the roles that are being done, talk of anything, your own activities, to go into someone's office, you must put your hand in your pocket. You know it. Everybody knows it all. So what is causing all these issues is simply because of corruption. Simple and very straightforward. Then secondly, as I mentioned quickly, was that we have put people here in Zambia who are not in good terms, who are not part of us. So we need to take stock of Zambians. If we are 17 million, you find that from that 17 million, some of those 17 million aren't Zambians. So we'll give them room to say in the next 3 months, please, we have to take stock of ourselves, be expelled. Then at another stage, that can be looked at. It's very important because we need to correct ourselves. The violence that is happening here, gun culture, this cadarism, it's not Zambian, it's foreign in nature.
Speaking about cadarism, I think that's another issue that I wanted to hear from you, how you intend to approach this issue. Because if you go in bus station, if you go on the street of, let's say, Freedom Way, if you go in the streets, I'm just giving an example, if you go on different bus stations across Lusaka, there's a trend now that certain individuals, for you to load passengers in a bus, you need to leave certain amount of money to those individuals. But I don't understand, because these are not people or council workers. These are just individuals coming in a certain form of authority, which we do not know, but they are affecting how people are able to commute from one area to another because of the issue of, if they don't get on that bus and the bus owner pays that individual, it becomes a problem for the bus owner. How do we move forward from that bad narrative?
Most of those cadres are foreigners. So kick them out, first of all. Secondly, you have the rotten system. The whole system is rotten, as I've mentioned earlier on. And when the whole system is rotten, then you have a problem. So you need to overhaul it. It's all corruption, where the head is rotting and you don't know what's happening down there. There's lawlessness. There's no independency of the law enforcers. One outstanding pillar or one outstanding step that we need to take in the fight against corruption is to delink, I'll answer the question, is to delink the office of the DPP, Director of Public Prosecution, who is appointed by the President. This man or this woman or this office has a hand on what the Anti-Corruption Commission does, because he has to make a decision. She has to make a decision. What am I saying here? You have a police, state police paid taxpayers' money. That can only act when the state, speaks or says, do A, B, C, D. The men and women in uniform, are people who are trained and they know what they're supposed to be doing. So you have got a group of people called a government or an executive whose interest is for themselves. The end result is what is happening, where now a cadre becomes more powerful than a police officer. So there is lawlessness. One of the things that someone told me, asked me, was that if you are talking about expelling foreigners, you are bringing xenophobia or people will be killed. I said, no, we are going to be a government of laws.
Before we go on our final break, you as a party have identified to say these cadres who are doing all sorts of activities in our communities, bad activities, of course, they are foreigners.
Yes, most of them are foreigners.
And the other part is, for example, before we go to break, I would want you to make mention, how do you discipline your followers? I mean, your cadres. What do you inculcate in them for them to act in a way? And is it the way that they act a normal way for you as a party leader?
It's difficult. I think there's one thing that I always talk about. It's when you're a leader of a nation, you're not a leader of a political party. That is where nationalism comes in. National leadership. If you looked at values in our manifesto there, you must be seen to be a leader that embraces everybody. The way you conduct yourself. That is why on one of those 7 golden pillars, we've talked about is banning of political regalia. Because it identifies me with a particular color. You see that, I don't mention Lungu, you see Akainde or Lungu, wherever they go, they're in red or green, whoever puts on. So we want to ban that. In your attitude, in your behavior, in the talk, the way you conduct yourself. When you are head of state, you are head of the people, not of a political party. And what we are going to do as Third Liberation Movement is to delink the presidency of a political party and that of the state. Meaning, I'm the head of state today, I'm no longer the president of Third Liberation Movement. I remain a member of that institution. So now, if a human being called a cadre, these are criminals. A human being called whatever you want to call commandos. Where are you getting all this nonsense? Because it is to their benefit. They don't want to serve the living God. That's why when I'm asked to say, who's their God? Who do Edgar Lungu or these other political party leaders worship? You should be clear to that these people are worshiping the devil. Wait, right. Before coming, maybe before going on break, let me conclude my point. These individuals are worshiping the devil because if indeed Lungu was worshiping God, the living God, that I do worship myself, you have not loved to see a single Zambian citizen to die. If Hakainde worshiped a God, you have not seen anything from him to seeing someone dying. So
just on that note, we'll come back. Thank you. Finish on that note. We're going to take our final break. We'll be right back. As a country, it is very important to keep pace with the prevailing condition in our society in order to define the future now through ideas that are more resilient. Join me, Danji Duncan Simwanza, every Monday at 20:30, The Manifesto Show, a platform that gives you an opportunity to get to listen to different manifestos by different political parties, only on Live TV channel 112 on your Topstar decoders. Make a day. You're still watching the Manifesto on Live TV. That's channel 112 on your Topstar decoders. And I'm still having a conversation with President Enock Roosevelt Tonga, the Liberation Movement Party President. And to continue our conversation, it was about religious values and principles in terms of leadership. Let's talk about yourself. Are you a man of faith?
Of course, yes. You heard me from the word go. I mean, when I'm talking, you have to see, look straight in my eyes, in my lips. Lies are not something you can fail to. That's why people have done psychology. If I'm pretending for the sake of me being given a vote, for any information, I'm not going to plead for a vote. Kneel down and please give me a vote. No, this nation is godly. And if God has spoken to me that we must govern the Republic of Zambia, it's his mission, he will speak to the voters. And he have no doubt whatsoever. Even look, the status that I've reached, to be one of the presidential candidates, if you ever walked with me, in my pockets and followed really what we experienced through as a political party, the only thing you would have issued out was that this has been God, not Enock Tonga.
In terms of values as a party, you've got remarkable values from love for one another, forgiveness and reconciliation, honesty and honesty in the dealings and unity of purpose. All these are very pertinent and important aspects in terms of values.
Yes.
But I just want to understand, in a position where we are now as a country, where the country seems to be divided and united, how do we begin rebuilding and restructuring our core essence as Zambians?
It begins with a leader. As I've mentioned here, the presidency. Identify the right person. The presidency. I've mentioned here that make a mistake to identify either this one or the other one. People say you have a problem. Already, you've not heard that Third Liberation Movement, maybe a member or a cadre has been wearing these boots, capes, whatever you call them. You've not heard of that. But you've got leaders, in this case, Lungu and his cadres. Lungu and his commandos, whether commanders, whatever you call them. Hakainda and his commandos.
So how should we end it?
Don't vote for these two individuals because they are at the center of it all. That's why Zambia is divided. And vote for Enock Roosevelt, who is only independent. For any information, we are 16 of us, candidates.
I was trying to come to that.
Yes, we are 16 candidates. Mark my words, if you clearly look at these candidates, you will notice that some of them, wait for the results in August 12, are not independent individuals. I'm not going to mention them. They must have been funded by the system. We are the only independent political party in the Republic of Zambia. So when it comes to issues of violence, killing of one another, finger pointing at each other, Hakainde was on the court. He told you that the state wanted to kill him. Have you seen the state doing anything else? They're quiet. Because they're behaving like the mouse, or you call it Tom and Jerry. When Hakainde was in Isesheke, he told the state, don't kill me. Has Lungu done anything else? Zero. They are a team working against the people of Zambia. So to explain your concerns, if Zambia was to properly, genuinely walk on the path of God and peacefully so, then you have a choice to make. The choice here is myself and the Third Liberation Movement. Simple and straightforward.
What are some of the short-term and long-term plans once you form government as Third Liberation Movement?
The issues of short-term, long-term. Look, first of all, you need to build confidence in the society. I'm the head of state today. I'm the head of state today. The first sitting of parliament, we enacted an unbearable corruption. I moved to point, mark my words, only 10 cabinet ministers. Only 10 cabinet ministers.
Why
Long as
10?
40. We don't need many of them. What for? For what?
Will the work be still effective?
What work? What's happening now? Do you have ministers? Do you have Rusambo now? You got PSCs. What are they doing? You want to spend 50% of your budget paying politicians in their beautiful vehicles? So what you do is, the moment you move in, the first very day you're in the office, the decisions that you take will build confidence in the people of that particular nation. Philippines had in Congole World Bank. What they did was they used the people of that nation, the nationals, the citizens of that particular nation, to contribute whatever they had in terms of God, which they melted into blocks and they gave it back to World Bank because they believed in the state, they believed in the government. Do you believe in it alone yourself? Do you believe in PF administration?
I wouldn't answer.
Do you
that
believe
question.
in politicians?
But
no.
Let me just quickly divert you from, because I know time is not with us. Maybe there's some issues that we need to also tackle into. I'm looking at the employment aspect. I think this is a very key aspect, especially with the young people, who are the majority voters and the majority of this country. But a good number of them are not in employment, and there's a complaint and an outcry. Some of them, they're even graduates, and they're still searching for jobs. What is your party offering in terms of creating
You want
jobs?
me to make promises? I don't want to make promises before the young people, because people have made promises before. But my answer to that question is very simple, that it centers on corruption. Simple as that. We've said it, we fight corruption to zero. None bearable on corruption. That builds a pool of money for the people of Zambia.
But for the sake of direction?
Yes, I'm coming there. So for the youth to hear, we are saying that there shall be a law called Unemployment Compensation Act on behalf of the youths of Zambia.
What will be the interpretation of that?
Very simple. Government will be compelled to create an enabling environment for a youth to access employment, for a youth to access or achieve the undertakings. In an event that this environment isn't there, then the state will be compelled to put a youth on a monthly allowance of $77.
And that will cater for the accountability aspect.
Of course, we are not going to be a state that doesn't know what it's doing. Yeah, I've got a vision. I'm not a visionist leader. These are very simple, straightforward issues. I've told you that Enock Tonga has the ability to run the African continent. Zambia is too small for me. You're talking about 17 million people. I've mentioned already that those 17 million people aren't 17 million. A number of those 17 million are not Zambians.
Speaking about the Zambian, not the foreigners, and the 17 million, let's also look at the land, vast land. And the future of Zambia could be agriculture. And in terms of employment, agriculture can play a role. Maybe let's look at some of the reforms in terms of you diversifying the economy and making sure that these sectors that have been playing since 1964, like the mining sector and other sectors that we've relied on, are also complemented by another sector which can add value to the country.
It's also, there's nothing so impossible. Very simple. All along, I've been told by my running mate, my vice president, Mr. Brad Shomba, that there is an economic war or hunger that is coming ahead, and God has a purpose for the Republic of Zambia to ensure that we can feed Africa, we can feed the world. And it's Enock Roosevelt Tonga and the Third Liberation Movement at the center of it all. So, to respond to your question, first of all, land is ours. It belongs to the people of Zambia. Zambia first. And we will give land for free. The way you'd go and access your NRC when you're 16 years of age, we'll give you the land. More especially in the urban areas. We'll give you land. That land belongs to you. You're not going to buy it. Very simple, straightforward. Additionally, talking about agriculture, it all again centers on issues of corruption. Now, go to the Minister of Lands. You won't get the land. So you have to identify the issue of corruption. When you fight corruption, everything moves.
So your priority as a party is corruption.
It ends there.
Everything is connected to corruption.
Of course. Okay. If it's agriculture, because if you go and produce that particular produce, we talk about this so-called FISIP. You have nowhere to take to. You have the market that is not properly defined. You don't know where to take your proceeds. No one is protected.
There's a call from CSO community that there's lack of consistent focus on issues of nutrition within the political party's manifesto. Are you part of that sequence of a political party that is not putting?
You want us to be feeding people
nutrition?
You want us to be feeding people?
Yeah.
No, just do the right thing. The governance is about creating this environment. You have your own brains, and we've got Zambians with their own brains. Given space, you do much work. Quickly, it takes me to the issue of media, because I'm talking to you. Media is stifled here in the Republic of Zambia with this so-called act. They came up with, what is it called? They've come up with the issue of this cybercrime bill. And for information, let me announce it clearly that the very first day I'll be in the particular office, we shall scrap that what they call it cybercrime bill, or whatever law. We are going to remove it out from there. So what I'm saying here is not about me providing the nutritions or maybe putting anything written in that particular document. No. The status quo here is just that of leadership, as I've explained earlier on. You are head of state, you serve the nation as a father of that particular nation, not a leader of a particular political party. That is why, if you look at those 7 golden pillars, let me just run through them very quickly. Those 7 golden pillars I mentioned: non-benevolent corruption, expelling of foreigners, the removal of immunity of the presidency. That one is very important because when Enock Tonga is sworn in today, you begin worshiping, you start worshiping me. So when I'm the head of state, we are going to remove the immunity so that you can take me to court. You saw yesterday's decision that the Concord, yesterday or the other day, yes.
On the 11th.
11th, yes. They took where they declared him, Lungu as eligible to stand for this year's election. The people are going to court. Lungu is in Eastern Province making pronunciations.
But the ruling has been made.
Yes, the point I'm saying is that you're supposed to be dragged himself, go and stand in the dock, not taking Kalaluka wherever the Attorney General.
I know that's the other issue of respect of the rule of law and again, expression of power.
The rule of law is destroying us. That is why lawyers, I must emphasize, lawyers must be aware when I'm the head of state, we will scrap off most of these powers. They are abusing the law. So I'm saying non-benevolent corruption, expulsion of foreigners, the removal of immunity of the presidency, the coat of arms will be used to hang where you are putting the face of Lungu now. Because you start worshipping that face of Mr. Tonga like it's an idol. Remove it out from there. Ban political regalia. Chiefs must be given upper house of chiefs to make decisions. Are you with me? Establish what we call a cosmopolitan government. What you have in Zambia now is a group of individuals, businessmen.
I know, Mr. President, there's a lot of issues that we need to tackle, but I'm just going to give you some time to give the Zambian people your last remarks or the last message that you want the Zambian people to walk away with strongly on this interview, particularly. I know we have talked about many key aspects, but maybe it's something that we left out. Maybe you could use this time particularly to share those information.
No, much has been spoken. Mine is not even a struggle talking to people of Zambia. The sad part of it is that a voter would want to cast a vote because a particular individual is his or her king's man or woman. Even when they know that we are missing it. So my simple word to whoever is listening to me out there is that I am the right person to be the president of the Republic of Zambia. Not Lungu, not Hakainde, not any of those other individuals. And what should be very clear in the ears of a voter is that I am the next president of the Republic of Zambia. Keep it on record. To simply mean that this head of state we have now, who should have been a transitional leader in 2015, will hand over the instruments of power to no other than Enock Roosevelt Tonga. And that is myself. So we have spoken. Zambia needs to be brought together. In doing so, it can only be done by a leader who is national in character.
Mr. President, thank you very much for coming to the show. It has been a great conversation. Of course, so great having you here in the studios. All the best in the coming election, and I wish you well.
We appreciate. May God bless you. Let's remain united. Thank you very much.
It has been me, Danji Duncan Simwanza, of course, on the Manifesto show. And I hope you enjoyed today's edition. Make sure you keep watching Live TV, channel 112 on your top side decoders. Until next time, bye-bye. God bless.
As a country, it is very important to keep pace with the prevailing condition in our society in order to define the future now through ideas that are more resilient. Join me, Danji Duncan Simwanza, every Monday at 20:30, The Manifesto Show, a platform that gives you an opportunity to get to listen to different manifestos by different political parties, only on Live TV channel 112 on your top star decoders. Make a day.